Now at 5, a winter storm watch goes into effect tomorrow night. I'm going to break this down for you.
Plus, a Bourbon County hospital that closed in 2018 is being reopened. And U.S. and Russian officials clash at the United Nations Security Council over the mounting tensions along the Ukrainian border.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A winter storm is moving into the 4 states this week, bringing ice and snow. This is KOIM News at 5. We go straight to Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy.
Yeah, we have a winter storm watch in effect, and this goes in effect tomorrow night or early Wednesday morning. But you can see it includes the entire viewing area for freezing rain, sleet, and snow. We don't have anything to worry about right now. We have clear skies, temperatures are fantastic, but we are watching this as the beginnings of our next storm system, which is out across the northern parts of the Rockies. So if we look at timeline, when is all this going to roll in? So here's tomorrow. You can see rain increases through the day, and then tomorrow night we switch over to freezing rain and sleet, and then by the time we get into late Wednesday, we go all over to snow through the daytime hours on Thursday. So this is a very prolonged storm system. We're going to break it all down for you here in just a bit.
See you soon. Thanks, Doug. People in Bourbon County, Kansas will once again have local access to a hospital. Representatives from Noble Health and the county today announced they're opening the Bourbon County Community Hospital. The hospital will be in the building of the old Mercy Hospital, Fort Scott, that closed in 2018. Officials say a design firm is working on restoring the building, which will take several months.
Bourbon County Community Hospital is going to be everything that the citizens want it to be. There were several months of one-on-one meetings between Noble Health and individuals within this community, both business leaders, community leaders, people who used to work for Mercy.
The hospital is off Highway 69 on the south side of Fort Scott. An Independence, Kansas man is in custody in Maryland charged with threatening President Biden. According to a court filing, Scott Merriman made threats to the president in several forms, including a phone call to the White House operator, as well as Facebook posts that are laced with biblical imagery and references to the end times. The filing says in a telephone interview with a U.S. Secret Service agent, Merriman said that God told him to go to Washington to, quote, lop the head of the serpent in the heart of the nation. In a Facebook post, Merriman said, quote, I believe Joe Biden is the Antichrist now, and he will suffer a fatal head wound. I'll deal that blow in Christ's name, end quote. The United Nations Security Council convened today to hear from Russian and Ukrainian representatives as it tries to quell tensions along the two countries' border. The meeting took place at the request of the United States, which has threatened sanctions should Russia further invade its neighbor. Skylar Henry reports from the White House.
The situation we're facing in Europe is urgent and dangerous.
The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas Greenfield, spoke forcefully at a UN Security Council meeting as she called on Russia to de-escalate tensions with Ukraine.
We do not want confrontation, but we will be decisive, swift, and united should Russia further invade Ukraine.
It's estimated that more than 100,000 Russian troops have amassed along the country's border with Ukraine. Russia pushed back against that number during Monday's meeting and repeatedly denied it plans to attack.
There, however, is no proof confirming such a serious accusation whatsoever being put forward. However, it is not preventing people from whipping up hysteria.
The Kremlin must remember that Ukraine is ready to defend itself.
Ukraine's envoy called for diplomacy, even as its military prepares for a possible invasion. Adding to those fears is the surge of Russian troops and equipment into neighboring Belarus for military exercises. In a statement, President Biden called the UN Security Council meeting a, quote, critical step in rallying the world to speak out in one voice.
With Russia's continuing its buildup of its forces around Ukraine, we are ready no matter what happens.
The White House has threatened coordinated sanctions with its allies should Russia attack and says it's working with lawmakers as members of the U.S. Senate prepare its own set of sanctions. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
A State Department spokesman tells CBS News that tomorrow, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will hold a phone call with the Russian foreign minister. Tensions rose along the Pacific Rim this weekend when North Korea launched a missile capable of hitting U.S. military bases in the region. The North released still photos of the launch. The Biden administration says it remains committed to making sure North Korea does not become a nuclear nation and says it's willing to hold talks with the North over its ballistic missile and nuclear programs. The Chiefs are not going to the Super Bowl, sadly, but students at Allen Community College in Iola have a chance to go to the game. The school's Student Senate today hosted its annual Red Cross blood drive. Those who donated were entered into a chance to win a trip to the Super Bowl in Los Angeles on February 13th.
I've given blood. This is my third time, and I always want to do it just so I can help people out who need it, because I would, say I was in a situation, if I needed it, I would hope that people would donate. So, just want to help people out.
The Super Bowl tickets are provided courtesy of the Red Cross. Up next in Health Watch, monitoring a new strain.
Health experts are monitoring a new version of the Omicron variant. I'm Naomi Ruckham with what we know about this latest coronavirus strain.
And later, the IRS warns of major challenges for taxpayers this year.
God loves you so.
Topping today's Health Watch, the FDA has fully approved Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine. It's been given to adults under emergency use authorization up until now. The approval makes it the second such vaccine alongside Pfizer's to receive the FDA's nod. Both vaccines are what are called mRNA vaccinations. A key difference is Moderna has never been approved or authorized for people under 18 years old. As COVID-19 cases decline in some parts of the country, the CDC says it continues to monitor variants circulated here in the U.S. and internationally. That includes a new sub-variant of Omicron called BA.2. Naomi Ruckham has more on what we know so far.
The new subvariant of Omicron is known as BA.2. Preliminary research from Denmark shows it appears to be more infectious than the original BA.1. Dr. David Agus is a CBS News medical contributor.
And what we're seeing is that countries like Denmark, which are weeks ahead of the United States in dealing with Omicron as a whole, you're seeing a significant rise in BA.2.
BA.2 has been detected in dozens of countries and several U.S. states, including Texas and California.
The data are still very early, but it may not produce quite a severe disease.
BA.2 has not been designated a variant of concern by the World Health Organization like the original Omicron variant that began spreading before the holidays, or the Delta variant that drove summer and fall surges.
We would be concerned about a variant. One, it's even more contagious than the ones we have. Number two, it's capable of producing more severe disease. And number three, could it evade the protection of our current vaccines and the natural immunity some people have gotten?
While there is more to learn about BA.2, public health experts emphasize getting vaccinated is critical to protect against severe disease. Dr. Agus says he expects the U.S. will be in a better situation with the virus by spring.
This new variant will slow the decline in that curve. But if you've been exposed to BA.1, the first Omicron, if you will, that you will have immunity. Hopefully that will cross over to BA.2.
Doctors say continuing to wear masks and social distancing are important precautions for reducing the spread. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
The preliminary study also found that people who were fully vaccinated or had received boosters were less likely to get infected. Adults with disabilities face worse outcomes when hospitalized with COVID-19. A study in Canada found disabled patients had longer hospital stays than patients without disabilities, and they were 77% more likely to be readmitted to the hospital within 30 days. The American Academy of Pediatrics has updated its pandemic guidance, saying keeping schools open for in-person learning should be the priority. The AAP urges vaccination, masking, and physical distancing, and says remote learning has worsened educational inequities and a mental health crisis among children. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, Spotify announces new content advisories for podcasts discussing some topics.
Plus, of course, we're tracking a winter storm, which is going to roll in here in about 30 hours. I'm going to break it down for you coming up. All right, we've been talking about a possible winter event, which is going to move in this week for quite some time, and we are getting closer to it. We have a winter, let's see, actually this should be winter storm watch in effect as we go through, really from tomorrow night, let's say midnight-ish until roughly Thursday afternoon as this event starts to roll in. We didn't have to deal with anything today. Today was fantastic. Clear skies. Nice shot, indigo sky. It was in the 60s. It feels fantastic. But anytime you warm up in the winter months, you're usually going to slam right back down at some point in time. We're up right now. We're sitting into the mid 60s. This is 20 degrees above where we should be for this time of the year. Through the evening hours, slow drop. We're just kind of swing back through the 50s. We'll bottom out near 50 a little bit later on tonight. We don't have to worry about any rain, ice, or snow as we go through the evening hours and then into tomorrow morning. We have clear skies right now. We are starting to see some clouds increase across central and western Kansas as our next storm system. We got one little guy shooting to our south, but this wave starting to develop up across the northern parts of the Rockies. All right, let's go ahead and break this down. For us tonight, we only bottom out near 50. Clouds increase. Let's go into the morning hours tomorrow. Clouds continue to thicken, and by noon, we have showers popping up, especially along and north of Interstate 44. Let's go into the afternoon. Here comes our Arctic front. So by evening, northern counties down into the 40s, still into the 50s in our southern counties, and we have rain. Let's go through tomorrow evening. The moisture picks up. So by midnight, we are dropping near freezing, and we have freezing rain. This is all the pink. As we go after midnight, watch this freezing rain line shoots way south, all the way through the region. So by 6 a.m. on Wednesday, we're all light freezing rain, northern counties switching to snow. We are going to get a pretty good batch tomorrow night into Wednesday morning, which is going to cause some issues on the roads. As we go through Wednesday morning, a little bit of a lull. We're probably going to go down to light freezing drizzle or light sleet. So here's the noon hour on Wednesday. We're well into the 20s, so everything's going to stick. Let's go into Wednesday afternoon. Snow starts to pick up again. Moderate to heavy snow at times. Let's go through Wednesday night. Bands of moderate to heavy snow all the way into Thursday morning. So we're going to stop at about 6 a.m. Then as we go into Thursday, it's just very light snow. Still going to get some light accumulations, but I think our heaviest period of snow will be Wednesday night into Thursday morning. All right, let's look at ice amounts first. So when I say ice, freezing rain. That does not include sleet. This is actual ice that, you get rain that falls to the ground, it freezes. I'd say most of us a tenth, upwards to about a quarter of an inch of ice. If we do get up to a quarter of an inch, that is going to cause some issues on some power lines and also some trees. This is mainly tomorrow night. Most of Wednesday, we switch over to sleet. All right, sleet and snow accumulations really covers all of us, 5 to 10 inches of sleet and snow. If we get more sleet, we're going to hover closer to that 5. If we get more snow, we're going to push that 10. And there are going to be some isolated areas, especially I think in our northeastern counties, that will approach a foot by the time we head into Thursday. All right, here's your timeline. Tomorrow we're talking all rain. Midnight tomorrow night, we switch to moderate freezing rain, and then we go back to light freezing rain. As we go into Wednesday evening, we go to light snow, then heavy snow into Thursday morning, and then periods of light snow throughout the daytime hours on Thursday. So this is about a 48-hour event. 57 tomorrow, we drop into the 20s Wednesday, alert day Wednesday and Thursday. Look at those overnight lows, 3 by Saturday morning. So when we get this on the ground, it's not going anywhere for a while.
What a dramatic difference in the temperatures and the conditions in the space of a couple of days.
Yeah, huge switch.
Thanks, Chuck. Millions of Americans faced an icy commute today after a brutal weekend of wild weather. A nor'easter brought heavy snow, howling winds, and coastal flooding to much of the Northeast. There have been at least 4 deaths connected to the storm. More than 2 feet of snow recorded in at least 3 states, and thousands of flights were canceled. Coming up, warnings from the IRS about taxpayer challenges. First, though, we honor a local veteran. George Wood served in the U.S. Army from 1943 to 1945. Pittsburgh native was stationed in the Philippines and received a Purple Heart. We salute Sergeant George Wood, a 4-state hero.
Doug Henny.
Topping Consumer Watch, Spotify will add content advisories to podcasts discussing COVID-19. The music streaming service will now direct listeners to a COVID-19 hub for information about the virus. The move comes after artists including Neil Young and Joni Mitchell asked to be removed from Spotify over its role in hosting content that spreads COVID misinformation. Young singled out Joe Rogan, who hosts the Joe Rogan Experience. Car prices remain near record highs, but that's not deterring buyers. Prices for used vehicles surged 37% over the past year based on the December Consumer Price Index. And a new car isn't much of a deal either, with new vehicles up 12%. Still, according to Morning Consult, car ownership increased for every demographic except Gen Z by the end of 2021. This tax season could be more stressful than usual, and your refund may be delayed. The IRS recently warned of major challenges for taxpayers due to the significant backlog of returns from last year. The agency also says it faces major staffing shortages. Scott McFarland reports.
The 2022 tax season crunch has officially begun, filled with talk of dollars, deductions, and delays. Lori Reed, a small business owner from Fairfax, Virginia, is already at wit's end.
That uncertainty caused a little bit of a headache for you?
It's a huge headache.
Until just days ago, she was working to remedy an issue with her 2019 taxes, trying to track down a refund check. She and her accountant say calls to reach an IRS agent for help often landed them on hold for hours.
It's an enormous hassle, and I think when you own a small business and you're trying to keep life running, you have this sort of burden knowing that there's unfinished business.
That's because this tax season, the numbers aren't adding up inside the IRS itself. The agency is warning of severe understaffing.
You're saying the agency is operating with hundreds fewer employees than it should or needs?
Thousands fewer employees than it needs.
A wave of retirements and budget cuts have hammered the IRS. A report by the National Taxpayer Advocate reveals the IRS received 282 million phone calls from taxpayers last year, but was able to answer only about 11% of them. The report adds the lucky ones who did get through waited an average of 23 minutes on hold.
The IRS isn't going to be able to answer as many of those calls as it should be able to.
Deputy Assistant Treasury Secretary Natasha Sarin says the waits could grow even longer this year as COVID further limits the number of agents available.
We know that that's going to be hugely frustrating for taxpayers in a complex filing season in the middle of a pandemic.
The agency guides you to file electronically if you can, and file early this year. Scott McFarland, CBS News, Washington.
Seems there's a million reasons to bypass the task at hand. According to a recent OnePoll survey, nearly 2 in 3 adults admit to avoiding adulting duties by using an excuse. The classic, "I'm too tired," was the most common, followed by, "It's too cold, I forgot, and I'll start tomorrow." Even the blunt, "I just can't be bothered," made the top 10. Final check of the forecast next.
Getting cut off.
Up next on the CBS Evening News, a look at the skyrocketing cost of childcare. Then on KOAM News at 6, how the U.S. military is stepping in to help some short-staffed hospitals in Oklahoma. Plus, the former mayor pro tem of Purcell, Missouri is sentenced for stealing from the town. And we'll hear from Pittsburgh football coach Tom Nicholson about his decision to resign. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. You should be aware of some nasty weather moving into the area tomorrow night and then continuing for a while.
Yeah, tonight's going to be fine, and tomorrow we are going to get rain, which starts to increase. But we're going to be right back up to 57 degrees. It's tomorrow night We drop back to about 28 and continue to fall throughout the daytime hours on Wednesday. We're going to get freezing rain, sleet, mainly tomorrow night and Wednesday, and then late Wednesday and Wednesday night we switch over to snow into Thursday. Also bitterly cold. Temperatures are really going to drop off as we go through the week.
Thanks for joining us. The CBS Evening News is next, and of course we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. See you then. Let's make it a great evening.